All right. Well, it's time to get into an actual political film, a real gem, if you
I thought-
will.
All right.
we're stepping into Theater 3, and we're going to be checking out the Steven Spielberg classic Lincoln, starring Daniel Day-Lewis, Tommy Lee Jones, Sally Field, James Spader, and so many more, including Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and we've got Alex
What's the
Driver that
fella?
makes an appearance.
What's the
Spaders in
fella
this?
from Oh Brother Where Art Thou?
Oh,
And he played the leader in The Incredible Hulk.
yes. Yeah, no, wait, are we
He's
thinking about
good.
the same guy?
Jackie Earl Haley? Is that what you mean?
No, yeah, he's in it
Jackie,
too, but no,
yeah,
not
I love
him.
Jackie Earl Haley. I can't remember. Oh, yeah, he's
He's got
in
three names as well.
yeah, I know. I'm completely blanking on his name. He's the
He's
guy
good. He's
that's
James Spader's buddy in it. Like they're part of the same.
yeah, he's the dude in the middle of the three. I feel so bad that I'm
Yeah,
forgetting his name right now. But
yeah.
he's in that HBO western that was dope back in the day, Deadwood. What's his name? John Hawkes, who's played Robert Latham. Yeah, John Hawkes.
No, that's not who I'm talking about.
No, you're not talking about John Hawkes. You're talking about Jackie Earl
No,
Haley.
no, I'll find it. Just continue.
All right, all right. Anyway, so yeah, Lincoln is uh, plot and storytelling. Where's that banner? There it is. Okay. So Lincoln is a historical drama film that tells the story of the final 4 months of Abraham Lincoln's life. The film was set during the American Civil War and focuses on Lincoln's efforts to pass the 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution, which would abolish slavery. The film
Tim
delves
Blake
into
Nelson. That's who I was talking.
yeah, that's what we mentioned earlier, Tim Blake Nelson. The film delves into the Lincoln's personal life, exploring his relationships with his wife Mary Todd Lincoln, his eldest son Robert Todd Lincoln, as well as his interactions with his cabinet members and members of Congress. The story is based on historical events and also on Doris Kearns Goodwin's book Team of Rivals: The Political Genius of Abraham Lincoln. The film shows Lincoln's political skills and his determination to pass the amendment, despite the opposition from some of his own party members and the ongoing Civil War. The film also depicts the morale, political struggle of Lincoln and the country during that time. The film received widespread critical acclaim, particularly for Daniel Day-Lewis's portrayal of Lincoln, and received numerous awards, including 12 Academy Award nominations and 2 wins for Best Production Design and Best Actor for Day-Lewis. So that's Lincoln in a nutshell for Steven Spielberg. I have just some quick thoughts. I've never seen this film. I kind of put it on the back burner. I'm like, I don't think I'd be that interested in it. It really was like, this looks like it's going to be a boring political film that I had no interest in at the time. But now that I guess I'm a little older, a little wiser, political films do have some peak of entertainment to what I watch now, and this knocked it out of the park. I thought it was enthralling. I thought it was beautifully shot. I thought the characters were incredibly well portrayed. Daniel Day Lewis does an incredible job. And I'm just going to stop talking so we can watch the trailer for Lincoln and get into the discussion.
We here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.
We can't tell our people they can vote yes on abolishing slavery unless at the same time we can tell them that you're seeking a negotiated peace.
It's either the amendment or this Confederate peace. You cannot have both.
How many hundreds of thousands have died during your administration?
Congress must never declare equal those whom God created unequal.
Leave the Constitution alone.
We are stepped out upon the world stage now, with the fate of human dignity in our hands. Blood's been spilled to afford us this moment. Now! Now! Now!
Abraham Lincoln has asked us to work with him to accomplish the death of slavery.
Tommy
No
Lee's
one's
wig.
ever been loved so much by the people
Don't waste that power. This fight is for the United States of America.
I find
choose to be born, or we
I find it
fit into the
interesting.
times we're born into.
Well, I don't know about myself. You may be.
He just wasted money on actors. Like, there were big actors in just completely minimal roles. It's pointless to, like, have Adam Driver say something.
I think they just, some people might just want to be in the movie.
I mean, yeah, Steven Spielberg. Just gonna say Steven Spielberg.
Shall we stop this bleeding?
It's okay. I was gonna say that it's funny how a trailer, when I watch that trailer, I'm like, man, this looks kind of like sappy and a little like dry, and like I don't know if I'm gonna totally dig it. But when you watch the movie, a lot of those lines and context are like really powerful, riveting, and just kind of like, whoa, they have so much like weight, and there's like you can feel the passion and the emotion, like especially Daniel Day-Lewis just nailed a lot of the scenes. There's a lot of scenes where he's saying, he's saying his lines and they don't break from camera. They're just these long one take scenes, which is
Yeah.
superb acting.
Like the movie. Okay, like the trailer is not as good as the movie.
Yeah, the trailer
does a
paints
good
a
job.
bad picture of the movie. Yeah, and everyone, like you guys were saying, some of you've seen it before, and it's a little boring, and it's maybe not as entertaining, and like to me, that set the bar really low, so low that Lincoln's Long Legs easily stepped over it because it was like I was like, wow, this is
Yeah, I know. I had said that I remembered it being boring and dull. And to be fair, when I came back and rewatched it this morning, actually, it's better than I remember. Although I think the movie has some issues in the writing, the plot, and missed opportunities that I think they could have done with this movie. But we'll get into that. But I think overall the movie was better than I remembered it.
It was very long, but I felt like it took like an hour to get into it. Like for the first hour of the movie, I'm like, I don't know. But then, an hour in, Lincoln starts to have like more meaningful moments and speeches and more like witty things.
See, that's interesting you say that because it didn't take me an hour. I specifically remember the moment that I was like, holy shit, this is an amazing movie. And it's when he's basically, I think he's talking about signing the 13th Amendment, which is this.
Yeah, that's the plot. Like,
Mrs. Goings was seen no more
Yeah.
in Metamora. Enough justice
and the
has
Civil
been
War.
done.
Well, yeah,
Even
but
for the
like
bondsman, her bail.
just the way this whole scene was presented, how it's just like one long, slow push, and he just
Constitution gives me war powers.
I like this scene.
decrees.
No one knows just exactly.
This was the
what
moment I'm
those
like, this
powers
movie
are.
kicks ass.
This was an
Some say they
interesting
don't
scene.
exist. I don't know. I decided. I
Talking about the
needed
legality
full chest
and
to uphold
but
my oath
do you know
to
what?
protect
Better
the
than him describing this to me, I would rather them
which
showed
I
me some of
decided
these
meant that I
things.
could take the rebel slaves from them as
There's a lot of
that's-
confiscated in war. That might recommend
That-
suspicion that I agree with the
I
rebels
get
that their slaves
that
are
sentiment. You want to see it, but I'm more in the mindset like if you can have somebody tell you a story and you picture that in your mind, that's
war
amazing
contraband
storytelling.
does the trick. I caught at the
This
opportunity.
movie is a stage play. It could have easily
think
been a
it's true,
stage
Slipper.
play. There's nothing about it that couldn't just
I use the
have been
law, allowing
not
for
done
the
in a movie
seizure of
instead.
Much like the
property of
American
war,
president.
knowing it applies only to the property of governments and
No, but
citizens of belligerent nations.
these
The South
people
ain't a
even
nation.
seem more real than the
That's
people
why
in
I
the
can't
American
negotiate
president.
with them.
And
So
there's a
if in
bit of
fact
what
the
I was talking
Negroes
about with the
are
American president in
property
this too,
according to
where it's just
law,
like
have I the
they're
right
just
to take
churning
the
out
rebels'
so many
property from them
words
if I insist that
without any
rebels own and not
breaks,
citizens
where it
of
doesn't
the
sound like a real person.
This is a slower pace,
Still, I
whereas
Yeah.
Aaron Sorkin is a much faster dialogue.
Which
It is
I
a
don't
faster
think
dialogue.
works.
Yeah, I would agree.
So this is a little slow for me, but it's also enjoyable because this actor is so enjoyable in this role. But
So good, so good. in this role.
And they make he makes Lincoln a likable guy.
Yeah.
At least not yet.
But like not in an unrealistic,
Then liberals in
idealized,
those
well,
states
slightly idealized for
are
sure, but not in the
slaves,
way
hence
they
property,
do with
hence my war
Michael
powers allow me to
Douglas.
confiscate them as such, so I
Right.
confiscate.
Well, this is about a real person
But if
versus
I
Michael
push
Douglas.
Like this guy is
laws,
actually
how then
supposed
can
to
I
be one
legally
of the
free
greatest
him with my
presidents ever, but no one
proclamations I
says to
got?
him, "You care about this country more
as
than
I'm
anyone I've
canceling
ever met."
state's
Like,
law.
you know, like they don't need to butter him up with like.
Okay. Can we stop trashing the American president?
felt
Can we
more
move on
grounded.
to this
I'll
movie?
try.
My oath demanded it. I felt right with myself, and I hoped it was legal to do it. I'm hoping still.
I like that. I'm hoping
2 years ago, I proclaimed these people emancipated. Then, thenceforward and forever free. Well, let's say the courts decide I had no authority to do it. They might well decide that. Say there's no amendment abolishing slavery. Says after the war, and I can no longer use my war powers to just ignore the court's decisions like I sometimes felt I had to do. Might those people I freed be ordered back into slavery? That's why I'd like to get the 13th Amendment through the House and on its way to ratification by the states, wrap the whole slavery thing up forever and aye as soon as I'm able. Now, end of this month. And I'd like you to stand behind me like my cabinet's most always done.
I agree. This is when the movie took off at this scene.
3 minutes and 17 seconds. That's how long that take was. Flawless.
As the preacher said,
Flawless.
I could write shorter sermons.
Well, he's a stage actor, and this is
He's very good. He's very good.
Lazy to stop.
Yeah. But yeah,
It
they
seems
make.
to me,
I
sir,
like
you're
the
describing
character that they
precisely
make him
the
out.
sort
Like,
of dictator the Democrats have been howling about.
like how accurate it
Dictators
is, who
aren't susceptible
knows?
to law. Neither is
But
he.
the
He just
character
said
they
as
make him
much,
out to be in
ignoring
this
the
movie
court's
is
twisting
somebody you want to
meanings.
cheer for and is
What reins
likable.
him in from
Flawed, you know, not happy, you know, but just
What's really
like
different
honest
about it is how
people
different
around
of a
him.
president he is than what I think of as a president, which maybe is the American president or these television movie presidents that are more like heroic. And not that he's not heroic, but he's very quiet. He's very.
He's a politician. He's a what do they call it?
He doesn't feel like a politician though.
He's a policy guy. He's a policy guy.
Yeah, he's a policy
all about
wonk.
the policy.
The people would tell me. I gave them a year and a half to think about it, and they reelected me. And come February the 1st, I intend to sign the 13th Amendment.
You can't sign it until the state's ratified.
Yeah, good scene. Good scene.
Well, Mr. Representative.
He has a lot of good.
There's
I
a lot
like
of
when
good
he just
scenes.
tells the story about George Washington in the painting in the bathroom in Britain. That one made me laugh. That's when I realized I really liked this portrayal of Lincoln. I was like, I like this guy. He's got some witty stories. And the guy walks out. He's just like, I can't handle more of your stories. But then the story is actually funny. It's just like nothing makes a Brit shit faster than the sight of George Washington. So the painting will do a lot of good use in the bathroom.
Right. So you have like Steven Spielberg making this movie. You got Abraham. One of the only movies I can really think of about Abraham Lincoln, of course, has the title Lincoln. And there's this deliberate. The choice of this movie, the choice of this movie it's going to be this small story that takes over the course of a month, and it's right before he dies.
4
right
months.
He gets, is it 4 months? Oh, I guess it ends in April, right? But it's more about getting the bill ratified in that month-long period. And then you're right, there's a time jump at the end, or towards the end, and then it jumps back to when he's alive. But for the most part, it's taking place over the month of January 1865, most of this movie, versus like you could have said it at the beginning of the Civil War. You could have shown the Civil War. I'm not saying that this is a bad movie because of those things, but I think that from wanting to see some of the history really played out with Lincoln specifically, I feel like, I would have liked to see more. You could have made a couple of movies here with, Daniel Day-Lewis is so good in the role that I think I just was left wanting more, like to see more of that context. And we only get this like little window into it, which is an interesting choice, I think, and to focus it on the slavery ratification and the politics. And it works really well for our theme tonight. But I think I guess what I'm looking is more for an historical biopic, epic that I might, see from others, like, like a Kennedy movie or something.
I see what you're saying. I actually, I took the kind of opposite on that. I thought it was going to be a biopic, and I wasn't really interested in the life of Abraham Lincoln. So that's where I was like not looking forward to watching this movie. But then when I found out it was just about the steps they had to take, especially with their little like almost party whips, the James Spader and Tim Blake Nelson, those guys were awesome.
Yeah,
just trying to get all the votes. I liked that better, and I'm glad it wasn't a Civil War movie. There's tons of Civil War movies, and that doesn't really have as much to do with Lincoln. It's like this is more on the political side. And
I have to agree.
I found that interesting because it's such. To me, that's something to make a movie about. The ratification of the elimination of slavery. That's something you make a movie about.
Right.
20% off emissions.
And
that
I guess
even pass.
And I do like that part of the movie. I think where the movie they ended up making versus the one that I was maybe like imagining when I was thinking about a Lincoln movie was a lot of this stuff with his family, with his wife and his 2 sons. I found was my least favorite part of the movie, or the least interesting part of the movie.
Yeah.
Sally Field is hit or miss for me. She's a great actress and everything, but sometimes I just don't really enjoy Sally Field, and this is one of those times.
Yeah,
Sally Field. She's not the greatest, but she there was a couple scenes, like the scene where she basically berates like Tommy Lee Jones and them in the middle of a hall, like literally after she's like having the breakdown, and then she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, am I holding you up and completely embarrassing you in front of all these people? Oh, silly me," like that whole scene was like superb, and she did great in that.
Doesn't it suck how the people will never love you like they love my husband? Yeah, that would suck for you.
Yeah, but then it cuts right to Lincoln and Tommy Lee Jones in the basement, and I'm like, I feel like there was something missing in between there, from like when she hits him up in the receiving line until when
that's the untempered version of Reconstruction. It's not
this is a good
exactly
scene.
what I intend. We shall oppose one another in the course of time. Now we're working together, and I'm asking you.
For patience, I expect.
When the people disagree, bringing them together requires going slow till they're ready to make up the
That's
difference.
shit on the people. What they want and what they're ready for. I don't give a goddamn about the people and what they want. This is the face.
Tommy Lee Jones is the perfect character to bring in if you want cold hard truth
and grumpiness.
Yeah.
The people elected me to represent them, to lead them, and I lead. You ought to try it.
I admire your zeal, Mr. Stevens, and I have tried to profit from the example of it. If I'd listened to you, I'd have declared
sometimes
every
he just
slave free
seems
the
like
minute
he's
the first
doing an
shell struck
impression of
Fort
Abe
Sumter.
Lincoln and not acting.
Border states would have gone over to the Confederacy, the war would have been lost, and the Union along with it. And instead of abolishing
I never got
slavery,
that
which
feeling.
we hope to do in 2 weeks, we'd be watching helpless as infants as it spread from the
More like how
American
he looks
South into
down
South
after each
America.
line, like he's doing a routine of his impression, and it's just like it gets weird and repetitive.
But you know what the people are. You know that the inner compass that should direct the soul toward justice has ossified in white men and women, north and south, unto utter uselessness through tolerating the evil of slavery. White people cannot bear the thought of sharing this country's infinite abundance with Negroes.
A compass I learned when I was surveying. It'll point you true north from where you're standing. But it's got no advice about the swamps, deserts, and chasms that you'll encounter along the way. If in pursuit of your destination you plunge ahead heedless of obstacles and achieve nothing more than to sink in a
here,
swamp.
for example, he just sounds like he's reading text.
Oh, he's not, I'm captivated by it, and he's right. Like I like how he's like, basically the whole point about Mr. Stevens, like the Tommy Lee Jones character, who's wants to abolish slavery, and he's like, he's more absolute. He's more like morally pure, and Lincoln's more like a politician, more willing to like say like the metaphor with the compass. Like, what's the good of a compass if you end up in a swamp or off a chasm? You have to kind of navigate the world and not just be about your direction and your goal. You have people requires some of this thing. And this is where Lincoln is a different kind of a politician than Tommy Lee Jones's character, Thaddeus Stevens. But I really like their dichotomy and the fact that they are not friends, and even though they're part of the same party, that they are politically, they would normally be on, very far apart, but they are working together on this because they have a common goal. And it's admirable. And it's a good showing of coming together for the right thing, So best scene, I think, in the movie.
Yeah, maybe. Well, do you have the scene about the toilet? Skip it. I already told the joke anyway.
And they see George Washington, they shit? Or
yeah, they shit, yeah.
I did enjoy these guys so much.
They're great.
We should be cheering right now.
There was a lot of political intrigue in this movie. Like, how did they get this? And like when they're showing like how hard it was, like the votes they needed to get, and how they had to get them.
Mr. Speaker,
like, man, see, that's a movie.
That's Lee Pace there.
Mr. Wood conclude his interminable gabble. Some of us breathe oxygen, and we find the mephitic fumes of his
These are my favorite
oratory a
parts.
lethal challenge
He
to
was
our
so
pulmonary.
To me, the best speech is
amendments
Tommy
and
Lee
any
Jones'
legislation that so affronts natural law, insulting to God as to man. Congress must never declare equal those whom God created unequal.
Oh, pause it. Can you pause it? See, that comes back around, actually, because that's pretty much the exact same thing Tommy Lee Jones says at the end in his best speech, where he's being like, he doesn't want to say racial equality because he thinks then all the Democrats will vote against it. So he's just like, no, but equality under the law.
Well, he has to capitulate. He listens to Lincoln ultimately, and he doesn't say what he believes. He says what he's going to get the goal done.
Yeah.
But his reason for saying that is the same thing as what that guy just said right there. He's just because he looks over at his opponent guy, the bald older guy. He's just like, you and I, we have to be equal under the law, and that's fine. But we're not. You're like a slimy piece of shit. You're not equal to me. He's like, you're like the worst scumbag ever. Like,
but luckily we have laws.
yeah, exactly. Luckily we have laws.
Order! Procedure, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Wood has the floor. Instruct us, so great commoner. What is unnatural in your opinion? Negroes casting ballots? Negro representatives? Is that natural, Stevens? Intermarriage?
What violates natural law? Slavery. And you, Pendleton, you insult God. You
See, that part sucks
unnatural
because he didn't say why.
Natural noise.
He does. Tommy Lee Jones did better later. But
I like that. It's like it feels like a House of Commons scene almost,
Yeah, and this is that equals part that you're
Tragic attempt to delude us now is unworthy of a representative. It is, in fact, unworthy of a white man.
How can I hold that all men are created equal when here before me stands stinking the moral carcass of the gentleman from Ohio? Proof that some men are inferior, endowed by their maker with dim wits, impermeable to reason, with cold, pallid slime in their veins instead of hot red blood. You are more reptile than man, George. So low and flat that the foot of man is incapable of crushing you.
How dare you!
Yet even you, Pendleton, who should have been gibbeted for treason long before today, even worthless, unworthy you, ought to be treated equally before the law. And so again, sir, and again, and again, and again, I say, I do not hold with equality in all things, only with equality before the law.
I love this look he does with his eyes.
it's probably, if we were to jump ahead here for a sec, which scenes hold up, that's the one for me. I love that scene.
Yeah, and for me, it's the one in the basement. That's really the strongest one, where they talk about their differences and the fact that they both need to work with each other and learn from each other a little bit. That they both have different strengths, and they need to work together on this. So, and that scene is a realization of what's set up earlier. So,
I would say the scenes that probably held up for me, which was the introduction to the. I guess I'll just call them gerrymanderers, the guys that are like going around. I call them the three wise men, if you will.
Never to be the political fixers.
Nor I. You're
Yeah.
paid for your discretion.
Well, you can have that for nothing. What we need money for is bribe.
That's James Spader. I do. It was like okay.
Nothing
Yeah,
strictly
man.
illegal.
John Hawk.
Congressman, they starve otherwise. I have explained to Mr.
There's Tim
Bilbo
Blake
and
Nelson.
Mr.
And
Latham
Tim Blake Nelson rocking a proper friendly mutton chop.
and nothing more.
I was so thrilled to see that.
Everybody in this era has facial hair except for that Secretary of State guy.
Well, will he be unhappy if we lose?
When men were men.
The money I managed to raise for this endeavor is only for your fees.
But George Washington lived in a clean-shaven era.
Yeah, weird.
If that squirrel-infested attic you've quartered us in's any measure, you ain't raised much.
Should we get to work?
So I when I saw Tim Blake Nelson, I was like, yes, beautiful friendly mutton chops. And then as I watched the movie, I started to notice even more friendly mutton chops. Look at this massive pair of friendly mutton chops on this elderly gentleman, just rocking it.
Almost
Really
every man in this
despicable.
movie has a beard or big mutton chops or sideburns.
This precarious gentleman on the other side, I don't stand for his beliefs, but he's got a fine set of friendly mutton chops. Got to give him the love. And then we got this gentleman, the cowardly gentleman who abstained from voting Walton Goggins. Next to Walton Goggins, the gentleman next to Walton Goggins, who voted no, then voted yes, and then voted to abstain because he was a coward.
Right. He was funny. They were both such cowards.
I believe.
He's like, well, shoot me dead. I vote yes.
I'm gonna give this one a friendly mutton chops pass as well. He's got more of a handlebar mustache attachment to it, but I'm gonna pass. It's not full connected, but it's still nice. And then the last friendly mutton chops. If you notice here in the top left corner, the gentleman with the orange ginger friendly mutton chops. Ah, beautiful. Bravo, well done, Spielberg, for really showcasing the fine look of the friendly mutton chops, as you can see.
You and Kevin
One of my
Moore
favorite
would
moments.
be very proud.
This has been Muttons with Murphy.
Muttons with Murphys. Yes, this era is all about the mutton chops and mustaches and sideburns and everything.
I'm bringing it back, baby.
There's like 2 people who are clean shaven in the movie. Other than
All right.
But yeah,
the scenes we enjoyed.
Yeah, I love the shots in this film though, like the aesthetics and the looks, like just the
Look
the-
at this
the
scene in
color.
particular is
Yeah,
really
the Petersburg like whole
Yeah,
like
brutal.
checking out the war and stuff. Like, oh, it's so
and the,
like
the
just
battle at the beginning too.
the aftermath. Yeah, the battle at the beginning was cool. I love the fact to touch on your like you wanted to see more violence. I actually like the fact that they subverted the violence. I like the fact that they showed the aftermath of the war. They showed like that scene where Joseph Gordon-Levitt, he's walking and he's following that like bucket trail. The guys are like wheelbarrowing and there's a blood trail and they just dump a bunch of legs in the pit and like all the limbs and stuff. Like I love that sort of like subversion. And then on top of that, it was this scene, my heart went in my throat because I was like, oh shit, is this gonna be the one? And I was expecting them to have the whole opera scene where, you know, we know he gets assassinated, but they don't do that. In fact, what they end up doing is they show another opera where you think it's going to be, but it's just the one where his kid's watching it, and they announce it, and you watch his utter dismay and horrible heartbreak as he finds out that, you know, they killed Lincoln, and the only really shot
it
of
was
him.
such a surprise. That was such a
Yeah,
surprise.
we never even see the assassin in this movie at all. It's
Wilkes
not even
Booth?
Wilkes Booth. Yeah, it's not even part of the story at all. It's not even
Yeah.
important, which I think is a good thing. You know, not necessarily I wanted more violence, but I thought there was an opportunity to like tell us the longer story of the Civil War, perhaps like from the beginning, but this is all at the end of it. But I guess, you know, they kind of explain a
Movie
lot
was
of what
already
happened.
so long too.
Yeah, it's 4 years and whatever. So, yeah,
Sure.
like the ending's really interesting.
Yeah. Performances for me, I would say that held up. I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis all day long for sure.
Easily.
And like Spader was a great character. There's just so many good. Yeah, I'm gonna say Spader and Daniel Day-Lewis. I'll leave it at that. There's a lot of great roles in this film.
I thought like
Tommy Lee had. Go ahead.
Tommy Lee.
Oh my God, yeah, Tommy Lee Jones.
I think that like with the like see even like the fact that the story is about the Republicans are the good guys and the Democrats are the bad guys, which is maybe not totally what our world is today, or what was in the American president at least. And how the Democrats are like the ones holding on to slavery, and like it's like a real interesting role reversal from when you go back almost 200 years. I thought, and the people who play those like the Confederate guys like Jackie Earl Haley and even the people in the Congress like Lee Pace, they do a great job of being so villainous.
Arkansas too, most likely. It'll be ratified. Slavery, sir. It's done. If we submit ourselves to law, Alex, even submit to losing freedoms, the freedom to oppress, for instance, we may discover other freedoms previously unknown to us. But you kept faith with democratic process, as frustrating as that can be.
Come, sir. Spare us at least these pieties. Did you defeat us with ballots?
You're muted, Murphy.
Sorry, even that guy that just spoke, he's such a prominent actor, but it was such a small role. They had so many like big actors for so many tiny roles.
Yeah, it seemed like it's like Steven Spielberg is making a Lincoln movie and everybody wanted to be in it. It feels like.
Yeah, that's definitely it.
Yeah, I like Spader. He was my favorite. Tommy Lee had the best dialogue, but maybe not the best performance. I don't think his performance was as good as, like, say,
he was very Tommy Lee,
for example. Yeah, he was just being Tommy Lee Jones.
But it's really about Daniel Day-Lewis, like.
Yeah.
And actually, I really do like the scene with him and Ulysses S. Grant, who would go on to be a president as well in the future, where they're talking about the negotiation. Although, I guess one of the issues I have with the movie, or it's more about history, it's more of my issues with history, was about the whole restoration, where Lincoln is, there's many scenes in the movie where Lincoln's talking about restraint. Let's not hang all these guys once we bring it together. And the rest, after Lincoln was assassinated, his vice president took power, who was a very bad person. And he kind of was more favored to the South. We don't see him in this movie, but the restoration, like slavery was abolished, but in the South, like Jim Crow laws came in, and like there was a whole new kind of oppression that would go on really for like well into another century, right? And after this, and so all of that's kind of left out, or sort of not touched upon. So, and I was like, hang all these guys, hang Jackie Earl Haley, hang the traitors. Like, I get like pardoning the 16-year-old kid who didn't want to go into battle and wounded his horse.
You don't want to hang a guy for running away.
No, but if you're gonna spare that kid, like spare the kid, but get rid of these guys, get rid of all these Confederates and these slime balls and whatever, because
we hung every 16-year-old for being cruel. There'd be no 16-year-old boys.
Yeah, that's a good line.
Yeah, it's a good line. Yeah, they're like, well, you can't just pardon all these deserters. It's gonna hurt the cause.
Yeah, buddy wakes up. He's like, Steven's just like, don't let him pardon any more deserters. That part was funny. There was some good humor in this movie as well.
Oh yeah, actually, speaking,
honestly, though, my biggest downside though. Oh yeah, go ahead. One more performance. Yeah.
One more performance, and this one I like because it ties in actually to our last episode of Parties. There's a certain actor who we all love, Bruce McGill. He appeared as the Thunder God.
Thunder Forth, God of War.
We'll commence our assault on Wilmington from the sea.
I know that guy from Babylon 5.
Yep, he was in Animal House as D-Day, and he shows up now.
He was also Captain.
Took by a breeze.
Not Ransom, but the guy from the future, Captain Braxton.
Yeah, that's right. He was
Braxton. To hear what it portends.
A bombardment from the largest fleet the Navy has ever assembled.
Oh,
yeah.
We don't get to see that battle. We just get telegraphs.
Yeah, we get telegraphs. A nice little telegraph, tight little chat around the telegraph machine as they have some coffee. Little story.
Yeah, you're right. It feels like a stage play. Other than that, like battle thing at the beginning, like most of it's just so quiet and people talking in rooms.
Here's the thing: my biggest downside for this movie, though, is you could have removed a half an hour and it wouldn't have lost anything.
I feel
There were
like
a lot
you
of
could have
scenes
taken
that
out
were really
take out
slow.
all of the Sally Field stuff, and I
You
feel like
don't
this
need
movie.
2 minutes of him staring at his kid. You could have just had him walk in and make one nice, loving glance towards his kid and got the same point across. Like there's a lot of places where you could cut out a minute, and it just would have made
What
it
is it?
flow
2.5
a lot better.
hours? This movie.
Two and a half hours.
I feel like
And
it could have
think
got down to
could have been
2 for this story that they wanted to tell. You know, but
agreed. Well, let's get some morsels for us there, Murphy.
I do have some morsels. I also have one final scene that was befitting because it was one that Dave brought up that I also enjoyed, which was the telegraph scene. But we'll skip that. If you watch the movie, enjoy the telegraph scene. They talk about are we at befitting times? The ones we're born in, and it was just really well done. Let's get in the movie morsels for Lincoln and transition. So, Lincoln 2012. Steven Spielberg spent 12 years researching the film. He recreated Abraham Lincoln's executive mansion office precisely with the same wallpaper and books Lincoln used. The ticking of Lincoln's watch in the film is the sound of Lincoln's actual pocket watch. Lincoln's watch is housed in the Kentucky Historical Society in Frankfort, Kentucky, not the Lincoln Presidential Library. It is the watch he carried the day of his assassination.
oh, it sounds like Spielberg's a believer like Rob Reiner.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. Rob Reiner. One small movie morsel for the American president is Rob Reiner followed Bill Clinton around for 2 days and just like took notes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, lobbyist William N. Bilbo's, James Spader's character, appearance was created from scratch because not a single photo of him exists. His eccentric presence was taken from various sources.
Rob Reiner's also a big wig in the Democratic Party, so he probably isn't the guy who should have made that movie, and that's why it came off so dripping in.
Well, it's very pro-Democrat. I agree with you there. If you want to call that Democrat, like there, I could see if you were a Republican, you wouldn't like that movie.
Describing his experience playing Abraham Lincoln, Daniel Day-Lewis said, "I never ever felt that depth of love for another human being that I had never met." And that's, I think, probably the effect that Lincoln has on most people that take the time to discover him. I wish he had stayed with me forever. During the 3.5 months of filming, Steven Spielberg addressed his actors in character. He called Daniel Day-Lewis Mr. President, Abraham Lincoln, Sally Field Mrs. Lincoln or Molly. And additionally, he wore a suit every day on set. I think I wanted to get into the role more than anything else and being part of that experience because we were recreating a piece of history. And so I didn't want to look like the schlubby baseball cap wearing 21st century guy. I wanted to be like the cast.
He's a method director.
Yeah, I appreciate that he went the extra mile for that, right? In February 20, this is a great fact and touches on your point earlier about the whole Emancipation Proclamation and stuff. In February 2013, numerous reports stated that this movie led to the final official 50-state ratification of the 13th Amendment, nearly 150 years after it was approved by 3/4 of the states in November 2012. Dr. Rajan Batra, a non-historian academician at the University of Mississippi, saw Lincoln 2012, then did an internet search to find out more about the amendment. He and his colleague Ken Sullivan discovered that although Mississippi voted to ratify the amendment in 1995, a clerical oversight caused that vote to remain officially unacknowledged, since the Mississippi Secretary of State had never sent the vote results to the U.S. Office of the Federal Registration. After Sullivan also saw the movie, both men urged the Office of the Mississippi Secretary of State to file that paperwork, which they did on January 30th, 2013. On February 7th, 2013, the Director of the Federal Register confirmed its receipt, along with the fact that Mississippi had finally ratified the 13th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States 150 years later.
Wow.
But they didn't do that.
They didn't?
Well, they were going to show it. You said? Is that how?
No, they did. No, they finally they did it, but the clerical error means that it didn't fully go through, and then they caught it and they presented it. And
so it wasn't actually in the Constitution until way later.
Yeah, until like 150 years later. Yeah.
Yeah.
According to Steven Spielberg, it was James Spader's idea to have his character seen as indulging in hand carving a wooden duck, a preoccupation that Spader's personal research revealed to be one of the major hobbies of Civil War era America. During the time when he was expected to play the title role, Liam Neeson did an extensive and timely amount of research on Abraham Lincoln. He read over 20 books and visited
I'm glad it
with.
wasn't decent.
I could have seen. I think he would have been okay, but I think Daniel Day-Lewis was probably. I'm sure was better than his would have been. So
Yeah, he read over 20 books and visited with the then existing Lincoln Bicentennial Committee in Washington, D.C. The committee granted Neeson's access to Lincoln's history, such as personal letters. Neeson also visited Ford's Theater and viewed personal items such as Lincoln's wallet and the Bible used for his inauguration.
did they have to do something to make Daniel Day-Lewis taller? Because I don't think he is as tall as Lincoln was, right?
You know what? I don't think he is not as tall as Lincoln was. I noticed a lot of the wider scenes where he seemed to be standing taller. You really couldn't see his feet, and there was a lot of shadow. So I assume he was standing on boxes of some form. I wanted
Surrounded
to.
him with short actors.
Yeah, surrounded him with short actors, probably camera play. It was something. It was a movie more, so I wanted to dig into, but I admittedly didn't have the time to pull it up, so I don't know. But I assume that's how they did it.
There were a couple scenes where he definitely looks taller, and he's 6'1" and he's almost he's 6'1", so he's not short, but he's not tall either.
I got more.
Yeah, I got a few more just last ones. Though movies directed by Steven Spielberg have been nominated for and won Academy Awards since Jaws 1975 and 75, no actor had ever won an Oscar for a Spielberg-directed performance until Daniel Day-Lewis for this movie. This was the last Steven Spielberg movie to which renowned film critic Roger Ebert gave a review before his death in April 2013.
Roger Ebert gave the American President thumbs up, as did Gene Siskel.
I did not know that, but Ebert gave this film a perfect 4 stars out of 4. Toward the beginning of the movie, Lincoln is telling his wife about a nightmare he had that night before. He says, I could be bound in a nutshell and count myself a king of infinite space, were it not that I have bad dreams. This is a quote from William Shakespeare's play Hamlet, Acts 2, Scene 2. Although Abraham Lincoln was almost entirely self-educated, he was an avid reader of Shakespeare's plays in 1860. The author and critic William Dean Howells wrote that the then candidate for president was a diligent student of Shakespeare, known to whom as a liberal education. Daniel Day-Lewis played Hamlet in an 1889 production at the National Theater. And these are the last 4. Lin-Manuel Miranda was going to write a musical about Lincoln and the Civil War based on the book Team of Rivals, but changed his mind when this film went into production first. Miranda would go on to create the critically acclaimed Hamilton of 2020.
Which I love. Hamilton's amazing.
Hamilton's fantastic.
We agree on something, Davan. We both like.
The music's just fantastic.
Yeah, I agree.
The film debuted in the same year as another movie about another former American president, which was Hyde Park on Hudson in 2012 about U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Bruce McGill is the third cast member for National Lampoon's Animal House to work with Steven Spielberg. John Belushi appeared in 1921, and Karen Allen in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Don't forget Babylon 5.
And this marks Tommy Lee Jones' first time being directed by Steven Spielberg. Jones starred alongside Will Smith in the original Men in Black trilogy, executive produced by Steven Spielberg. Cinematography by Jonas Kaminski, edited by Michael Kahn, music by John Williams. Release date of October 8th, 2012 at New York Film Festival, November 16th, 2012 in the United States, and November 16th is the release date. Running time of 150 minutes, not agonizing. Budget $65 million, box office $275.3 million.
So is it the most commercially successful of these?
Yes, it's definitely the most commercially successful of these 3 movies. Doesn't have
rewatchability. For me, no. I'm glad I saw it once, but it's too long, and I think I got it.
I think to watch the whole movie again, would be I would maybe in 10 years, because it was interesting coming back to this and remembering more of it, and I forgot all about the politic part of it. I was like, oh yeah, okay. There's all getting the votes and all the mechanics of that. And I think in the first time around, I didn't really appreciate that part.
I think there is some rewatchability into it. Will I go out of my way to watch it again right away? Probably not, but I could see myself watching it again down the road, just to sort of, it was really well told. I liked the telling. I liked how it was presented. I think there's rewatchability in this film.
Yeah, it's not. It's
Right.
borderline for me, but I'll probably say no one.
I'll certainly watch scenes. I think I might watch scenes again, like just in smaller bits. But
does it hold up? I'm gonna say yes. Or does it measure up? This is a new one. Does it measure up?
Measure up, hold up. I say yes.
It's good. Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah. Good time.
All right. So that's 3 yeses. That's an A movie.
There you go.
See, not all my choices are fucking turds.
No, only mine.
No, just most of them. What year?
Third time's the charm, Dave.
Again?
Yeah.
2012, right? Yeah.
2012. Yeah, it came out in 2012.
All right, so that joins the likes of Matinee, The Wolfman, Werewolf by Night, Soylent Green, House Party, Doctor Strangelove, and Lincoln. Those are our A movies on this show. So we have our political movie rankings here. So where we each rank the 3 movies we just for me,
based on them being movies or them being political movies.
Oh, just on which ones you enjoyed. For me, I'll go Strangelove, Lincoln, and American President.
Go ahead, Murphy. I know American President will be also last for you.
Yeah, it's gonna be Lincoln's Strangelove and American President.
For me, it's the American President. Easily the best of these 3 movies. In terms of who gets the silver medal between Strangelove, yeah, it's Lincoln. Lincoln's the second best for me, and Strangelove is the least. But it's not a bad movie, really. But it's just I would rank it the lowest.
My last contention with the American President is because it's just that you said how it was a different world then, and it was a world before Trump and 9/11 and all these things that changed the political discourse.
Right.
But to me, that's why that movie really didn't hold up, is because that discourse has changed. So it's like that movie became even more distasteful.
Well, it's very it's almost like an era movie, or it's specific to it's almost like a historical romantic retrospective of what was, So
do I think Ebert would give that movie a thumbs up if it came out now? I don't.
Well, who's to say what he would do now? But in 1995, he gave it a thumbs up, and so did Gene Siskel. But it wasn't made now; it was made then.
True, but how is Don't Look Up condescending, but that movie isn't?
Well, they're completely different, in how they go about it. Their message is right straight on. It's not a subtext. It's not trying to say look at the absurdity of these weird, wacky people. It's like that. That's the difference. Very different. I don't think there's any condescending part of it, other than they love America and the hype and the hoopla. You can consider I know you don't like that, but
the fainting is just
the fainting.
It's just
that's
all right, gentlemen.
Better than you. I know.
All right, gentlemen. I think it's time we take this episode and
let's take him out back and beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, that was a good ending.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I did a little wheeling and dealing, and Murphy agreed to downgrade Southland Tales to a C movie.
Yes,
there's a little room on this show.
For the fact that he's never seen UHF, and I insist that we watch UHF. It's one of my
Southland Tales is one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen in my life.
I'm so glad you got to witness that.
So
yeah, it was certainly bizarre.
All right.
Well, do we have our? Well, before we hit our coming attractions, we'll just have a quick,
talk about our federation of podcasts.
Yeah, we got our roll call here. We have our federation. There we are.
Our United Federation of Podcasts, if you will, where we have great, amazing shows like X-Rated, the X-Men Animated Review Show. Davan, do you want to tell us about that at all?
We review the X-Men.
That's it. You review the X-Men. You guys did a 2-part recently. You're getting on the final.
Sanctuary. We're season 4, episode 4.
Sanctuary.
Best 2-parter of the series yet. It was fantastic.
And you host that with Andre Mayette, host of Graphic Histories, the podcast where he talks all things comic and art and graphic histories. He's got a few episodes coming out real soon, I believe.
Yeah, Frank Forstall, his second parter there, and then he has another 2-part episode coming up with David Cullen, I believe his name is. He's a Marvel artist. Did What If issues and things like that.
Beautiful, yeah, it's Graphic Histories, and when you want to talk about reality TV shows, we got Super Mater Bros podcast for reality TV shows and all things TV related. Dave, how's that going for you over there?
Oh, it's going fine.
We are brothers!
So last year we covered Big Brother Canada 10. We also did Big Brother USA season 24. Was it 23 or 24 now? I can't remember. And of course, we did Survivor 43 and 42 last year. So Survivor will be coming back in March, and that will be our next show. And then Big Brother in the summer. Plus, we're doing the Marvel stuff over there too with the Mary Mater Marvel Society.
Mary Mater Marvel Society, yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
Ant-Man Quantumania coming up.
Yep.
Dude, I'm stoked for that. That's gonna be a good film. I don't know if you saw the trailer for that, but
looks busy. Looks like there's a lot going on in it. So
yeah. Speaking of busy, we got the KBBL podcast where the extra B is for
busy.
And you guys talking the finer episodes of The Simpsons over at the KBBL podcast. You guys just had yourselves an episode last week coming up with another one tomorrow. Yeah, what's the episode tomorrow?
The beheading of Jebediah Springfield.
It's a great episode.
Beautiful. And as well of other beheadings, if you want to see some, go to the Trivial Debates podcast. We got an episode coming up on January 29th. We are covering the reality TV show with host Jaemeel Robinson. We got Dave Mater, Jeff Mater, and Foster popping in to talk all things, debate all things reality.
Yeah, no, Jaemeel said it could go beyond Survivor, Big Brother, The Amazing Race, The Challenge. There's quite possibly going to be other things, but Jaemeel will be the judge. So
Hostmaster extraordinaire Jaemeel Robinson's got some plans. You do not want to miss that show. Dave, how you feeling? Do you think you got a chance?
I got a good chance. I think Foster, being a rookie trivial debater, is going to, I think I'm not super worried with him because I think he's just going to be trying to figure out what's going on. But Jeff Mater, always a force in the debates. Of course, we started the whole thing together, and Jeff has won, I think, just as much as Jody has. Like Jeff and Jody are sort of like the most winningest contestants. So Jeff's always tough.
It's going to be a real Slaughterfest. And Slaughterfest is what you'll find at the Hellbound podcast, the horror movie podcast with Michael Chan and Andrew Black, where you got to check this podcast out. It's a good time. All things horror related over there.
Alex Blackburn, actually.
Alex Blackburn. It's late.
Sometimes they call him Michael Blackburn and Alex Chan, but and
they happen to be gentlemen that join us on the Live Long and podcast where we talk things Star Trek. We go into in-depth things over the Locutors of Trek, Deep Space Science sections, and we do radio shows on the operations of Live Long and podcast. If you love Star Trek, you got to come check us out there and all the many shows we provide. Yeah.
Star Trek Enterprise Monday and Star Trek Deep Space Nine Tuesday. Check those things out.
Very regular and on the ball. So yeah, that's our little menagerie, a little federation of podcasts, if you will, that we have going on here at the United Federation podcast. So I think that with that, we're going to wrap it up. My name's Chris Murphy. It's been a lot of fun. Davan, Dave, you guys, always a good time. I enjoy watching movies.
Picking on you, Dave. Love you.
Oh, yeah, thank you. No, it's all good. I know I'm right. So
slight roasting.
The listeners will decide.
Yeah,
let's take him out back and beat the shit out of him.
So let's with that. We're going to leave you guys with the coming attractions. Thank you for joining us on the podcast. Leave your comments, leave your love, share, and all that stuff. Enjoy the podcast and enjoy the movies.